Nova Scotia is one of the most sought after provinces here in the Atlantic, mainly because the biggest city center here in the Atlantic is located there, that is Halifax. And surrounding Halifax are various urbanized cities such as Bedford and Dartmouth, and these places are truly remarkable to live in. They're beautiful cities. You can be in the city and within a 10-minute walk you can be one with nature as well. But there are hard truths about living in Nova Scotia, much the same as in New Brunswick. I have released videos about the hard truths about living in New Brunswick, and this time I want to talk to you about the hard truths about living in Nova Scotia in 2023. The first one is that Nova Scotia has got low wage or minimum wage. It has got the lowest minimum wage across the Atlantic. The minimum wage in Nova Scotia sits at New Brunswick sits at 13.75, PEI sits at 13.70, Newfoundland and Labrador has got 13.70 as well, and they have got plans to increase this minimum wage in the next 1 to 2 years as well. And to add more pain to this, Nova Scotia has got one of the highest cost of living in the Atlantic. I do have a free downloadable file which you will find in my website questcanadaca.com, and in this downloadable file I did compare the cost of living amongst all the Atlantic provinces, and this is on average. So you will find in this file the cost of rent, the cost of food, the cost of internet, and all the basic commodities that we need in order to live. And Nova Scotia is at the higher end of it all. There is another file that I created as well, and this is also a free downloadable file you will find in my website, wherein I compared the cost of living in the various cities within Nova Scotia, and these are the major cities in Nova Scotia. The next hard fact about living in Nova Scotia are high taxes. Much like the rest of the Atlantic region, their tax is 15%, so that's additional 15% on the cost of every commodity and service that we buy, except for the basic food, groceries that we buy. Over and above that, everything else is taxed at 15%. So if we dine in a restaurant, we will pay 15% on top of it. If we buy tires, we buy stove or anything that is required inside the house, everything is taxed at 15%. On top of that, the salary taxation in Nova Scotia is high as well, pretty much like New Brunswick. So the taxation system here in Canada is a progressive kind of system, wherein the higher your salary is, the higher your tax bracket becomes, or your marginal tax rate. I actually did a video, I posted a video on how the taxation here in Canada works. I suggest you guys watch it after watching this video. In order for us to be more specific with the idea of income tax, I would like to give you a detailed example here. If you go to wealthsimple.com and you live in Nova Scotia, you earn $50,000 a year, your total income tax is $9,080. Whereas if you live in Alberta and you earn the same amount of money, your total tax payable is $7,350 per annum. The difference comes from the provincial tax. If you will notice, the federal tax is the same all across Canada, but the provincial tax makes all the difference. The next in our list is the healthcare system. The healthcare system problems is an ongoing problem Nova Scotians face. It is not different with what we face here in New Brunswick. According to Global News, the healthcare system in Nova Scotia is underfunded and poorly managed. This actually came as a surprise to me. Nova Scotia has got the lowest salary or income for physicians across Canada. And there is not enough manpower to attend or sustain the healthcare demands in the province. This is one of the reasons why the CCA program was established in the first place. CCA stands for Continuing Care Assistance Program, and the province of Nova Scotia created or established this program specifically to attend to the needs of the old-aged citizens. So international students who want to come to Nova Scotia and study have got more opportunities for easier job placements, because the whole onus or idea and concept of CCA is that it makes the entire job placement easier for the international students. I did release a video about the CCA program, and if you want to know more information about this, you're absolutely welcome to watch this video after this video. And if you're an international student or aspiring international student and you haven't got a clue where to start, how to begin, what to do, and how to jumpstart your journey to come to Canada, visit my website questcanadaca.com, and there are a lot of free downloadables there for you. An article by Global News stated that Nova Scotia hospitals are experiencing pressures in their emergency department. There are actually frequent closures of the different department on emergency in the various hospitals there. And the backlog of surgery is even worse right now or currently than it was during the pandemic. So in terms of healthcare, really, New Brunswick is not alone. Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are on the same boat, unfortunately. And the last topic in this docket is employment. This is certainly worth talking about, although it can be very negative, but it is certainly logical to talk about because everybody needs job. Everybody who wants to move to Canada wants to move to Canada because of job opportunities. Now, according to Bloomberg, in one of their articles, it says that Nova Scotia is the second province across Canada with the highest unemployment rate, and they are second to Newfoundland and Labrador, which is also an Atlantic province. Nova Scotia sits at 7.6% unemployment rate, and this is pretty much the same as New Brunswick. But the caveat here is that the most urbanized cities across the Atlantic is are in Nova Scotia. Most companies, international companies who want to operate in the Atlantic, put up their offices in Nova Scotia, mainly because it is the hub. And even then, the unemployment rate is high. It's quite mind-boggling, really, on how this is the reality in that province. And one of the reasons is because the growth of labor force is faster than the growth of jobs available. And there is another twist to this, and that twist is underemployment. Underemployment in Nova Scotia is rampant as well, wherein a worker is forced to take on a part-time job even though he or she is not looking for a part-time job because there are no other jobs available. Or a worker is forced on to take a lower salary kind of job even though that is no longer the category or the rank or the range of the salary of this person should be higher. But then the person does not have any other choice because there are no jobs available anymore. And people have to live, people have to pay rent, people have to pay bills, and therefore underemployment is rampant as well. There is a tough competition in the province when it comes to job opportunities.